Thank you so much for coming on today, Rob. My name is Ryan Lamar. I'm the host of the Youth Leaders in Wealth Management interview series. My next guest today is Robert Cascio. So how are you doing today, Rob?
Good, phenomenal. Thank you for having me, Ryan.
Appreciate you coming on. So, Rob, you're a Northeastern alumni, and you're currently moving down to North Carolina to start a new position with Wells Fargo. So I'm super excited for you to give us some insight on your position and your time in college and just a little bit to know about yourself. So I want to start off by asking you about your experiences at Northeastern. So how did your time at school prepare you for entering the workforce?
Yeah, sure thing. So it definitely can branch back to my college search. When I started touring schools, I didn't really know what I wanted to get into, whether it was finance or supply chain. However, when I was able to visit Northeastern's campus, it kind of gave me a different perspective. They really emphasized the co-op program, and the co-op program essentially is for a 6 month period or a 4 to 6 month period, you're a contract full-time position, and you get to actually work full-time at let's say a bank. Maybe you're interested in venture capital, maybe you're interested in like healthcare. Pretty much every single major has firms that they work just side and side with where you can get real world experience. So that really solidified my interest in going at Northeastern. And I really just decided to take advantage of this. At my tenure there, I decided to do three different co ops, two within one company, John Hancock Insurance, and then the third one on the capital market side for Jefferies. Um, and just being able to do this really gave me a well-rounded experience of finance. And actually, after taking my third internship at Jefferies, is when I decided to actually go ahead and take the SIE exam. Um, and this really just kind of propelled me in the future with like internships, getting interviews, et cetera, because the SIE exam really makes you kind of a stronger candidate in a way. It shows that you have demonstrated interest and you really just want to go into the financial industry and wealth management. But pretty much just summing up that, I feel like Northeastern really gave me a lot of practical on the job experience, which really equipped me with like both the knowledge and the hands-on experience that are highly valued in the job market.
That sounds like a really great program that Northeastern offers with the co-op and being able to come in and go to different companies, get different experiences. Excuse me. So I want to learn a little bit more about your time at John Hancock and Jefferies. So can you give us some insight onto what you did at John Hancock and then maybe move into Jefferies? Maybe what's the same, what was different, and how those experiences really developed you going into the work industry?
Yeah, definitely. So the roles were a tad bit different. When I was at John Hancock, I was primarily doing project management based roles. The first one was more IT project management, and then the second one was actually directly finance project management. The first one where I was a project manager for a CRM platform. Not really too relevant, so I'll kind of skip over that for this purposes. But the second internship that I did there was financial product management. Specifically, it was titled the U.S. Finance PMO. And in this position, I was in control of a couple different tasks, ranging from the quarter end close process for the whole company, where I would supervise that alongside with one of my supervisors, and we would basically tackle that with 100 plus different people across 20 different teams, um, and a lot of other ad hoc tasks in this role, figuring out, like, for example, new reporting guidelines for the actuaries. But since this was an insurance company, um, I guess gave me like a very well-rounded experience with just the financial products in general, more specifically tailored to the insurance company. Um, but when I worked at Jefferies, that's kind of where I really found my true passion to go into finance. Working at Jefferies, I was working with high net worth institutions or individuals, specifically handling their equity trades on the capital market side. And here I just found kind of like a passion for the client facing relationship alongside working with internal stakeholders. And that's what really drove me wanting to take the SAE exam and learn more about wealth investment management, whether it being on the financial advisor side or maybe on the treasury management side. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of got me more curious to learn more. And yeah, post these internships, I decided to then kind of enhance and further my studies. Find some more mentors that could help me and figure out my career path, which really got me prepared towards my senior year at Northeastern. I feel like, um, being able to kind of network and talk to a lot of individuals gives you a really good perspective. I mean, for me personally, after, you know, I only had maybe a couple months left at Northeastern, and this is when I really started applying to jobs for full time. And I still didn't know the career path I wanted to go. But being able to talk to different people, one of my mentors, she works at Bank of America, and she's actually a financial advisor there. And she was explaining to me how there's a variety of different programs that individuals can take advantage of. I ended up getting a job offer back in January, but I ended up turning it down because I didn't feel like the financial advisory training that they could have given me was optimal after speaking with the Bank of America position. Um, yeah, I just think it's super important just after going through these experiences to be able to network and really figure out what direction you want to go and then find individuals that can kind of guide you there because, we're young, we don't really know what we're doing for the most part. Um, but if you can speak to people who have industry experience for 20, 30 plus years, they can help you on the right path. And I think that's very important.
That was a really insightful piece of conversation that you just told me. I really like what you said about finding your passion at Jeffries, and when you went into the equities and learned about the capital market, working with the high net worth people, it sounded like a really good experience and gave you like that window into what you actually wanted to do, which is really what internships are about. There's going to be so many times where you find something in life and you do something and go, oh, I don't want to do this. And it took me doing it to realize that I don't. And then eventually you find what you like to do. So, going through John Hancock, that might have been not the perfect experience for you. But then going to Jeffries and finding like, hey, this is what I want to do is so important. And that's why internships are so crucial in college, finding what you want to do. Because if you're in a position then when you graduate and now you have bills to pay, you got rent, you got food, you got to support a family, and now you're stuck with whatever position that you had. So I appreciate that insight on the different parts that really helped you find where you wanted to go. And also mentorship is so important. Like you said, talking to the people at Bank of America, one of your mentors, being able to understand the different career paths, even in the industry that you might want to go to. And then, like you said, making a decision that, oh, like maybe they didn't have a good enough training program for me, because at some points we might all have a job right in front of us and be like, oh, I want to take this. Like I don't have to worry. I could just go through this and I don't got to think or second guess my decision. But then actually coming to a conclusion where you say no is so powerful, and being able to make a choice that is so pertinent to you, which I commend you for, because that I'm sure that you're gonna look back on that and be glad about the decisions that you made. So I appreciate the insight on that. And then you briefly touched on the SIE exam. So for the people that don't know what the SIE exam, it's the Security Industry Essentials exam. And when I started studying, the day I started studying, it was the first time that we talked, and you gave me a little insight onto the test. So it's the precursor basically to all the series exams, being able to get your full licenses. Something that college students can do. When you turn 18, you can take the test. It's one of the very few that you can. So I took it while I was in school. So did you. So what was your experience like studying for the exam and passing it while you were also going through your curriculum in your final year of college?
Yeah, so luckily for me, shortly after I had finished the internship at Jeffries, I decided, hey, I really think I want to continue down this direction. Maybe not specifically within securities. However, I just wanted to, continue my knowledge. And since I was already at a fresh start with working with, equity securities, and I was more curious about learning more about fixed products, accounts, etc., I decided to take the SI exam. The setting process, I believe personally, is very doable. For me, I started in late August, where I started school in September. I actually ended up passing and, well, taking the test in November. Um, but it's not overly stressful. If you can spread out maybe a month or two with studying, I think that might be the best course of action. It really depends on the individual. It could range from maybe 60 hours to 80 hours of studying. Um, but there are some key tips I would say taking the exam. Really understand the accounts section. This section doesn't really make up for a ton of the material to study, but it's really important to specifically study this section as it actually is on the test, one of the bigger chunks of the test. I believe this was well over 20% of the test, but within study material, it was well under that, just managed. Um, but alongside this, you want to know your general securities, whether it ranges from just like options, because you could get situational things on the exam too. Um, but yeah, ultimately, just kind of balancing out maybe, let's say you set around 1 to 2 hours aside every single day and you could just study the exam. I think that's what's really going to help because it'll keep it fresh in your mind. You'll also be kind of curious and more interested to learn more. So maybe you'll go a little overboard one day. But just doing that like an hour or two a day, it's very manageable to be able to set up the tests in maybe like a month in advance and have ample time to both study, maybe take some practice tests, which I also recommend, and you should be all set.
I definitely agree with you. I used a lot of your guidance when studying for my exam, setting some time every day, 1 to 2 hours to really hammer in, read the textbook, do the practice exam. I use Kaplan's test prep service, which was pretty well for me, but something that I think that is super important. I know some people that are studying for the exam and they haven't yet set like a test date. For me personally, setting a test date kind of lit the fire underneath me to be like, okay, you have to get something done. Because if you just study for the exam and be like, okay, well, I don't have the test scheduled, like I could just keep waiting, and it lets you procrastinate a little bit, right? So for me, I scheduled it about a month and a half out from when I started studying, and that really helped me be like, okay, I have to do this or I'm gonna fail. Because if the test comes, I can't refund it, I can't
Yeah.
reschedule it. So like I had to do it, and that really helped me get through it. But like you said, you started in August and then went to November. Mine was a little closer because I wanted to get it done just quicker. But there's a wide range of things that you can do to prepare for that test, different ways
Mhm.
to take it. But this is both of what our opinions are on it, and I think that it's one of the best things that a college student could do, especially if you're interested in going into wealth management. Take the test. It really sets yourself apart in a very wide group of applicants. So it's something that you should definitely consider, everyone listening. So I appreciate the insight on that.
Yeah. And actually, just to
I
even
want to.
kind of further continue on that, like for me, it did take a couple months on paper, but for me specifically, I had, let's say, like final exams or midterm exams and projects that I wanted to kind of avoid. So, like for my test date, for example, I specifically picked it. So I had like a week of just like, to refresh the material. And yeah, just going off your point, I think it gives a huge leg up. If you are applying to internships, if you are applying to entry level jobs out of graduating, having the SIE credential, being able to put that on your resume is a huge leg up for any employer looking to hire. And I think just for that credential alone has helped me gain many more internships and interview opportunities that I would not have been able to have without it.
Definitely. It's something that when I speak to professionals in the industry today and I say, "Oh, I already passed my SIE exam," they're like, "Wow, I can't believe." Like it's not something that occurs very often. And luckily that through some education and stuff that people like me are doing, word of mouth, that more people seem to be going towards that exam, which I think is a good thing for the industry, starting to prepare earlier. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of opportunities that can come from it that you wouldn't necessarily get without it. So thank you for the insight on that. I want to transition a little bit into your future. So you've explained to me you're moving down to North Carolina. You're starting with Wells Fargo in their treasury development program, correct?
Yeah, it's through the
That's
Wealth Investment Management program there.
perfect. So can you tell us a little bit about that program, how you found it, what makes it unique, and what you'll be doing down there?
Yeah, so, and I really advise anyone starting out their senior year to really use this as something to kind of remember. So, a lot of the big banks, what they do is, and this is like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Chase, UBS, um, Santander, anything you could really name. They will all release their rotational development programs around September to October area. And when these applications release, you basically apply to directly their investment management program. Maybe they have something else. But for me, I was more specifically interested in applying to wealth and investment management programs. Um, and for me, back in October, I had applied to the Wells Fargo one. And these are pretty selective programs, but the offering that they have is incredible. Um, so coming from a school like Northeastern, where you do these co-ops, it's kind of like a rotational role in itself, where you have this 6 month experience. Um, and that's exactly what the development program is. For me specifically, I'm going to be in banking, lending, and trust, which is more of the treasury management and consumer lending side. So initially, I'll be given the opportunity to really enhance and hone in my skills on the deposit side. And this can be handling, for example, the budget, maybe some products, maybe some client management solutions in regarding their cash management or maybe payment solutions that they need. And then alongside this, after the first rotation is up, I will gain experience in the consumer lending industry. And this will manage like mortgage rates or credit card programs, et cetera, like that. So more the lending side. Um, but having this opportunity, I feel like it gives young professionals an extremely strong foundation. Um, Being able to not only gain experience in multiple different areas, but these companies really invest a lot of resources into their newly hired employees. Um, their goal with these programs is to hire with conversion full time after. And by doing these kind of rotational aspect, it allows the new hire to really figure out where their passion lies within the industry. And they also give a lot of flexibility too. This program for me specifically ranges from 12 to 24 months. Whether I want to, if I feel ready within the 12-month mark, for example, they will likely say, hey, if you feel comfortable on this team or this team, we would like to have you. If I don't feel comfortable and I feel like I want to really enhance my skills more, there is also the option to continue for the second year and then figure out after that second year is up which department I'd like to go in. And Wells Fargo specifically, um, it's a great company specifically for building that early level foundation. And later on, they have a lot of mobility, whether it's maybe transferring from department, maybe location. Um, they're very welcoming and want to help and really just invest in their employees. So that's why I really, really, really am excited for this opportunity, honestly.
It really sounds like an awesome opportunity that I'm so glad that you found. And even though you're moving far away from me and we can't hang out anymore, but I'm so glad that Wells Fargo really invests in people and is willing to invest in someone like yourself, because I know how bright your future is going to be. And this program sounds awesome and something that everyone should look into for sure. If you're interested in the industry, this sounds like a program that's going to help you prepare for a successful long career. So I appreciate you giving us some insight on that. And I know I'm heading into my senior year, I know for a fact that I will definitely be looking into it, trying to learn as much from you as you go through it as I can. And just, being a sponge, trying to get myself prepared to get into the workforce. So thank you for the insight on that. So kind of a final note, we have a lot of people in the Youth Leaders of Wealth Management group. They're students, they're emerging professionals, they want to get into the industry. And what would be your advice to them for starting a successful career and preparing to enter the workforce as they're still in college? Maybe they're a recent graduate. What can they do to put themselves in the best position?
Yeah, so maybe for this answer, I feel like a timeline approach could be really appropriate. So for freshman year, for example, if you're starting out, maybe you just have finance as your major, for example. I think what's really important is to really be active, maybe join some clubs, figure out some relevant courses that you can take in the future, and kind of learn like what's your niche? Like where is the direction in finance do you want to go? Specifically for wealth management, there's a lot of different directions, a lot of clubs for me that my school had to offer, which was nice. Moreover, like my school specifically at Northeastern, they offer more of a major specific curriculum, if that makes sense. You really don't take too many gen ed classes. There's like a writing class and a couple of other mandatory classes, but they really try to keep it where you have the opportunity to take as many financial courses that you want. For me, obviously, finance was one of my majors. Um, but just maybe hopping into, let's say, your sophomore, junior year, I think it's important to start to figure out maybe some internships you may be interested in, maybe some opportunities. Um, Really understand the roles, though, that you want to go into. I think going into a job search, you should brainstorm like, hey, what do I like? What am I passionate about? Maybe write some notes down and figure out exactly what it is you want to do. Because from there, you can easily transfer all the skills and stuff you've written down and then find jobs that are specific that will handle those. Um, Moreover, I know we did talk about the SIE exam, but I really do like to reiterate that specifically for wealth investment management. I would say a lot of individuals, let's say they might want to go the financial advisory path. Not only having this will give you a huge leg up when applying to these types of internships or entry level roles, but you've already completed a required credential. And not only does that save time in the future, but it enhances your resume. So it's a win win scenario in that case. Um, but for me specifically too, with the financial advisory path, I also recommend you check out the financial advisory trainee programs that big banks have to offer. Unlike the rotational program, which I'm heading into, these financial advisor trainee programs are offered by a lot of big banks, like Bank of America. For example, as I said earlier, they have a trainee program which you can apply to at any time, which is very nice. And they will respond to you. Maybe it's within a couple days, maybe it takes a month. But these programs exist all year round. So you don't really have to rush, or there's no real time sensitive commitment with these. But these types of programs, in my opinion, build a really strong foundation to your professional career. Um, Not only are these positions paid, which is very nice, but it gives you a very, very, very strong foundation regarding learning financial products, being able to shadow um, client meetings, being able to understand products that best fit your client's needs regarding their tax status, maybe their investment goals, their future. These programs will help you out with that, even alongside like administrative work. And what's even nicer about these programs is that they will also be incentivized to assist you with, let's say, your studying time. Sometimes they'll give you some study time off. Financially, they will also help you with providing study materials or even sponsor you to take these exams. So I really think looking into these different programs and just kind of doing your own research will really help you down the road, and you'll be thankful for doing that.
That's really insightful advice and stuff that I definitely will take into account when I'm working towards my next year and trying to find a job. Rob, I can't thank you enough. You've been so helpful to me personally, and I know that a lot of the stuff that you said today is going to be so helpful to a lot of students that are going through the career process right now. Thank you again. I'm so glad to have you on this podcast and give you an opportunity to speak about the experiences that you have. They've been so valuable to me. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Ryan. It was a pleasure.
All right, everybody, please, if you want to join our LinkedIn group where we do written posts, please join through the link in the description below. Rob's LinkedIn will also be linked below. And please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. What you guys tell us is exactly what we do. So I appreciate any insight and advice for what you guys want to see going forward. So thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate you hopping on, and I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.